The story of money is not just a tale of coins and paper, but a profound journey through human ingenuity, power, and the very fabric of our global society. It begins thousands of years ago in a world utterly devoid of currency, banks, or credit cards. People acquired necessities through a simple, direct method: barter. Imagine a rice farmer needing milk and a milkman needing rice. They would agree on an exchange: 5 kilos of rice for 2 liters of milk, and a deal was struck. Goods for goods, services for services, without the need for an intermediary. This system, while initially effective in simple communities, quickly encountered significant obstacles as societies grew more complex. The double coincidence of wants was a major hurdle. Both parties had to desire what the other possessed simultaneously. If you had apples and desperately needed shoes, but the shoemaker had no use for apples, no trade could occur. Furthermore, establishing a standard value was almost impossible. How many bananas equaled 1 chicken? How much milk for a shirt? These questions led to endless confusion, arguments, and an inability to save wealth effectively, as perishable goods like wheat would rot or be consumed by pests. Barter was simply not scalable for emerging civilizations with their cities, kings, and specialized labor. Humanity needed a better way. The search began for something universally accepted, valuable, portable, and durable. This quest gave birth to the very concept of money. Before the advent of coins, various commodities served this purpose. Cowrie shells were used in Africa and China, while salt, a precious commodity, functioned as money in parts of Europe. India saw the use of wheat grains, spices, and later, silver. These items were chosen for their rarity, ease of transport, and a collective agreement on their worth. Yet even these early forms of money had limitations. A superior solution emerged with the discovery of metals: gold, silver, and copper. Metals possessed inherent strength, resisted decay, and their natural luster appealed to people. They could be melted, shaped, worn as jewelry, and crucially, they could be divided into precise, measurable units. This discovery marked a pivotal moment. Around 600 BC in Lydia, present-day Turkey, King Alyattes minted the world's first coins from electrum, a natural gold and silver alloy. These coins bore a royal stamp, signifying their authenticity, fixed value, and trusted origin. The world quickly embraced coins for their portability, ease of counting, resistance to counterfeiting, and the trust placed in the issuing authority. India, China, Greece, and Rome soon followed, minting their own currencies. Roman soldiers were even paid in salt money, giving rise to the word salary. Coins became the first global currency, traversing vast trade routes like the Silk Road, facilitating commerce across empires for centuries. However, coins too had their drawbacks. Their production required valuable metals, and rulers sometimes debased them by reducing their precious metal content. Carrying large quantities of heavy, valuable coins was both cumbersome and dangerous, making merchants vulnerable to robbery. The need for a lighter, safer alternative became apparent. Our journey then takes us to China around the 7th century Tang dynasty. A thriving empire, China's economy was booming with trade in tea, silk, and porcelain. To overcome the challenges of heavy coinage, Chinese traders and local governments innovated with promissory notes, simple pieces of paper promising a future exchange for coins. This was the nascent stage of paper money. By the 11th century Song dynasty, the government officially issued Jiaozi, the world's first government-backed paper currency. It was light, convenient, and safer. To build public trust, the government backed the notes with real metal, used intricate seals to prevent counterfeiting, and imposed severe penalties for forgery. This system propelled Chinese trade and prosperity, though the concept took centuries to reach the Western world. Marco Polo, visiting China in the 1200s, was astonished by paper money, but his accounts were met with disbelief in Europe. It wasn't until the 1600s that London goldsmiths began accepting gold deposits and issuing receipts. People soon discovered these receipts could be used directly in transactions, effectively becoming money. Banks adopted this model, leading to the birth of banknotes. By the 1800s, paper money was official, but the question of its intrinsic value persisted. The solution was the gold standard. Every paper note was redeemable for a fixed amount of gold. This system, adopted by major powers like the US, UK, and France, established trust and currency stability, facilitating international trade. The stability was shattered by World War I. Nations, desperate to fund the war effort, printed vast amounts of money without sufficient gold backing, leading to the collapse of the gold standard, rampant inflation, and a loss of public trust. Attempts to restore it failed during the Great Depression and World War II. Yet, amidst this global devastation, one nation emerged stronger than ever: the United States. With vast gold reserves, minimal wartime destruction on its soil, and a booming production capacity, the U.S. was uniquely positioned. In 1944, as World War II raged, 44 nations convened in Bretton Woods, USA, to design a new global economic order. Their answers center the system around the US dollar. The dollar was backed by the largest gold reserves, and the US economy was the strongest and most stable. The agreement fixed the dollar to gold at 35 per ounce, with other currencies pegged to the dollar. This Bretton Woods system made the US dollar the world's primary reserve currency. Nations held dollars in their central banks, and global trade from oil to wheat was priced in USD. The dollar officially became the undisputed king of world currencies. But the dollar's journey did not end there. In the 1960s and 70s, heavy U.S. spending, particularly during the Vietnam War, strained its gold reserves. Other countries, concerned, began demanding gold in exchange for their dollars. The U.S. could not meet these demands. In 1971, President Richard Nixon unilaterally ended the dollar's convertibility to gold, an event known as the Nixon shock. The dollar was no longer backed by a tangible asset, but by trust in the U.S. government, ushering in the era of fiat money, where money holds value simply because the government declares it so. Despite losing its gold backing, the dollar retained its dominance due to several factors: unwavering trust in the U.S. economy, its robust institutions, rule of law, and relentless innovation. Its pervasive use in global trade with oil, technology, and goods priced in USD solidified its position. The safety and liquidity of U.S. Treasury bonds attracted international investors. Again, America's military power and global influence further reinforced its currency's standing. While other currencies like the euro-yen and yuan were strong, none commanded the same global trust as the dollar. The US dollar had become the indispensable linchpin of the global economy. However, the world was evolving at an unprecedented pace, driven by technology. The late 1990s and early 2000s saw the rise of digital banking. Money transformed into numbers on a screen, enabling instant, borderless transactions via apps like PayPal or Wise. Debit and credit cards became ubiquitous, and mobile wallets made payments seamless. Money became pure data flowing through vast digital networks. This shift, while convenient, also concentrated immense control in the hands of governments and banks. During the 2008 global financial crisis, public trust in traditional banks plummeted. Institutions collapsed, savings were frozen, and governments printed billions to bail out corporations, fueling widespread anger. From this crucible, an anonymous entity known as Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. Bitcoin was a revolutionary digital currency, decentralized, with no central authority, bank, or government. Its supply was capped at 21 million units, making it digital gold. It was a system built on blockchain technology, a public, immutable ledger of transactions designed to prevent fraud. Bitcoin paved the way for thousands of other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Tether, and Solana, promising financial freedom, inflation resistance, and transparency. Governments, however, viewed this uncontrolled digital money with suspicion, fearing its use in crime, money laundering, and tax evasion. Many countries banned or restricted crypto, but the genie was out of the bottle. The world had tasted a new form of financial autonomy. The US dollar, beyond its economic function, also serves as a potent weapon. The US controls SWIFT, the global messaging system vital for international bank transfers. A country removed from SWIFT is financially isolated, unable to easily send or receive dollars. This dollar weaponization was evident when sanctions against Iran's nuclear program cut its banks off from SWIFT, crippling its oil sales and economy. Similarly, after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, key Russian banks were removed from SWIFT, causing the ruble to crash and forcing Russia to seek alternative currencies like the yuan. The message was clear: anger the US, and your financial lifelines can be severed without a single bullet fired. This power has alarmed many nations, prompting a movement toward de-dollarization. China and Russia now conduct bilateral trade in yuan and rubles, reducing dollar reliance for oil, gas, and arms. The BRICS nations, such as Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, joined by others like Iran, Egypt, and the UAE, are actively exploring a new shared currency and alternative payment systems to lessen dollar dependence. Saudi Arabia, for decades selling oil exclusively in dollars, the petrodollar system, is now accepting yuan and rupees. India is promoting rupee trade with various partners. A new frontier in this currency evolution is central bank digital currencies. CBDCs, digital versions of national currencies, backed and regulated by central banks. Over 130 countries are exploring CBDCs, which could facilitate instant international payments, bypass existing dollar-centric systems like SWIFT, and offer governments unprecedented control and programmability over money. Imagine a Nigerian student paying German tuition in digital naira instantly, or an Indonesian business buying Brazilian soybeans directly in their own currencies. Yet, even as governments develop CBDCs, a parallel revolution is unfolding in decentralized finance, DeFi, and cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is legal tender in El Salvador. Ethereum powers a vast ecosystem of decentralized applications. Stablecoins offer crypto-backed versions of fiat currencies. The irony, however, is that most cryptocurrencies are still priced in dollars, demonstrating the dollar's lingering influence even in this new frontier. Ultimately, money is not just metal, paper, or code. It is trust. If trust erodes, a currency collapses regardless of its design. This is why even in hyperinflationary economies, people often hoard US dollars. The next global currency, or currencies, will depend not just on technology or politics, but on who the world chooses to believe in. The BRICS strategy, aiming for unity against dollar hegemony, is a significant part of this. They are exploring a gold or rare earth-backed currency and independent payment systems, with many nations expressing interest in joining this new economic bloc. These seismic shifts will touch everyone, from students in Kenya to shop owners in Brazil, nurses in Germany, to factory workers in Bangladesh. Your job, travel, business, and savings will be impacted. Remote workers might be paid in digital dollars, crypto, or CBDCs. Airport exchanges could vanish, replaced by instant digital conversions. Freelancers will negotiate contracts in the most advantageous currency. Traditional savings may prove insufficient, prompting diversification into multi-currency digital portfolios. The future of money is not a single currency, but a multi-currency, multi-system world. The US dollar will remain powerful, but will share the stage. Digital currencies will be fast, smart, and borderless. Cryptocurrencies will thrive where trust in government is low. New alliances will forge their own financial ecosystems. The global South and East are actively shaping their financial destinies. The dollar may have written the last chapter of one era, but the future will be co-authored. In this new chapter, currency will signify identity, innovation, and independence. Understanding these dynamics is your shield. Learn about CBDCs, explore blockchain, diversify your assets. Stay curious, because the next big opportunity might not come in dollars, but in the language of the future. This is not merely a story about money. It is a profound narrative about power, people, and possibility. You are not just a listener, you are a participant in history being written in real time. Your understanding is your first form of wealth. Use it wisely, share it boldly, and never stop asking what comes next.